Hey, Peter and Brian, and George, how is the snow at your respective homes?
6 inches and counting. Well, sort of
Six.
now it's falling on itself.
Six. There was more than six when I shoveled this morning.
Yeah, mine looks pretty serious out
It's still coming down in Georgetown.
there. Yeah, it's kind of stopped for it.
It's one of those, it's a really light snow, and so it can be deceptive because it just kind of keeps settling.
It's very wet too. At least in my house it is.
Yeah, it was extremely heavy this morning.
Yeah, I may have the cause wrong there.
Sean, I just sent you an email about your meeting tomorrow morning.
Oh, cool. Thanks.
I need an address.
All right. Yeah, I will. I'll send Bob a calendar invite with the address on it.
Okay, good. So, okay, good.
It doesn't really see like we have too many people here who might want to make a public comment.
I'm guessing that Brian may be reaching out to Randy to confirm he's coming. Let me just text him as well. Oh, he is? Is that what you did, Brian? Okay.
I'm in the middle of it.
Okay.
On his way.
Okay.
I was just explaining to Brian that for some reason this thing asked me to identify myself and put in my email address and do all kinds of weird stuff to get into the meeting. Plus, I was on another email when I jumped in.
Could be Russian disinformation going on, Randy.
I think it's just probably that we're not on the cloud.
Touche. Okay, let's get rolling. We're here at 3 o'clock for a special meeting to entertain a resolution. But before we do that, I would like to see if anyone is here to make a public comment. And Debbie, I think that would be you since you're the only person not a panelist right now. All right, seeing no public comments, we'll close public comments and move to the matter at hand. So we were sent a resolution a few hours ago. I don't know if staff
can-
or
I'm
anybody
happy
wants
to read it into the record. And I don't believe that, I know the board has copies of it and Brian does, but I can also share my screen so that the public can see it as well. If that would be, I think that probably would be best because I do not believe
Sure.
it was uploaded. And this is consideration of resolution 22-25, a resolution memorializing and ratifying Clear Creek County's endorsement and support of the Southern Cheyenne and Arapaho tribal proposal to rename Mount Evans to Mount Blue Sky. Let me share my screen now. Do you all see the resolution? Hopefully.
Yes.
Good. Okay. And if you want, I can actually read it if that's easier, or if you just want me to slowly scroll down. I believe that this takes into the account the input of all the commissioners in my conversations with them. But I'll turn it over to however you want to begin. If there wants to be a motion or if there wants to be a discussion, it can be a motion, for example, to approve this resolution and then discussion against any amendment.
Is the entire resolution on the screen, or do you need to kind of scroll back and forth to be able to?
Yeah, I'm going to scroll. I'm trying to see if I could reduce the size so that you could get it on the screen, but I'm not sure I could do that. So I'm starting at the top here and I will slowly.
If you go to the bottom right-hand corner where it says 100%, you can move that slider bar a little bit.
Okay. Let's see if that works. Okay, did that work?
Yeah, although now it's pretty small.
Okay, so hold on. Let me do a mid-range and a little bit more. I don't know why it went to 2 pages. That's kind of silly.
Yeah, I mean, if the other commissioners would like you to read it, that's definitely fine with me. I think this is the only matter we have on our agenda today, so we're certainly not pressed for time.
I don't really mind one way or the other. It's as I look at who it's up here where people can see it in this view. We don't have anyone in the audience right now for the purpose of reading it. I've been through it. I think we all have, but I have no objection if anybody wishes that we take the time to read it.
Okay, I did see some discussion in my emails concerning content.
Yeah,
yeah.
you know what? I made a couple of suggestions. I'm fine with withdrawing them.
Okay.
Yeah, and I thought they were good questions, Sean. And I think it's basically what's happened is I've actually called members of the Evans family as far back as about a year ago with regard to the process itself. So I just wanted to reassure you that those were not frivolous words. I was thinking about it. It has been over the last year and a half. The subject has come up, and then we've intentionally held back to let the proponents have the time to try to work out their differences with different. So we've had a process that's been going, I think, and I agree with you that it's actually just a little over a month that we started sending out notice and getting serious and schedule the final meetings to make it happen. But I felt like we'd been in a dialogue that the public had seen over the last year or so, and we had some outreach. It just wasn't all, done publicly. So, and I was also very pleased to see the email we got from the BGN to Brian and Peter. And they brought it up to me a couple of times along the way as we've been having discussions about how to do this process. And they really said that what we've done in Clear Creek, I mean, it's not as the BGN sends out to all 574 tribes and stuff. I think that a lot of times the local, if the locals even get involved, they have a conversation and they make a decision as opposed to what we've done. And I really have had them tell me a couple of times that what we've done would almost be a model for what the way local governments should do this across the nation, and that they just don't see it happen like this. So I think we have all something to be proud of and hearing that. So
Yeah, part of my reaction was I've received a lot of input since the news story broke on 2 days ago that this decision was made, and I was surprised by how many people in our community and stakeholders of the legislature and other places just had no idea what was going on at all. And the whole renaming is very controversial, right? I mean, it happened kind of in a spirit of violence a few summers ago when a lot of statues were torn down by violent illegal mobs. And this is certainly a much better process than that. But again, is it something that, it was a one-off, right? We've never done it before. And I think we did our level best. But if we had it to do it again, I think I would probably be interested in a more holistic view, because no one's perfect. And most of our historical figures have some dark corners in their past, and there really isn't a standard for how big your dark corner can be before your family's discredited. So I guess that is just to say, that's what happens when you're on the leading edge of something like this and you're required to go first.
yeah, I think the fact that we did reach out to the Evans family, and of course there's difference within the Evans family, just as there is among the tribes. I can tell you that there are Northern Cheyenne that support the Southern Cheyenne and Arapaho proposal, and there are Southern Cheyenne and Arapaho that support the Northern Cheyenne and Arapaho proposal, and we have differences on this committee. I think one thing that stuck out to me was that the Evans family itself, most of them, even those who disagreed with this particular change and wanted a different change or didn't want change at all, the majority of the communication that I saw acknowledged that one point in history was a pretty dark one, particularly for Governor Evans himself. And the record's fairly clear from the time that he created and I want to be clear about this because we didn't focus too much on the negative aspects in this resolution. We wanted it to be more positive, I know, and there's only one small reference to the fact that his policies and actions led to this, and we didn't even get into what they were. To be clear, he did pass that proclamation with intent in July of '64. There were Indian leaders who came to him and begged for an opportunity to try to have some kind of mercy and work things out as the fighting intensified. He did tell them that they were on their own now and they had to deal with Chivington. And afterwards, he decorated Chivington for his actions before it all fell apart and he ended up being removed from office. So there were reasons that he was removed from office. And I think that it's telling that, we don't know what, I mean, we've all got our dark corners. I've had my bad nights, and days at times when I didn't get things right. In this particular case, there are so many people that no longer live in the state and so many people that died as a result, and it's pretty well historically recognized. And I agree that this is a lot better than going out and tearing down statues in a demonstration. But I think it's been a justified and a dignified way to go about it. And again, we've received compliments from the federal government for the manner in which we did it. So if we could have done it a lot better, then it sounds like there's a lot more improvement to be done everywhere. In any case,
Um,
if you've withdrawn your
so-
proposals, I'm happy. Go ahead, George. I'm sorry. You haven't said a word.
Yeah, just offer some comments in the full knowledge that we're talking about a decision that was made and have had a lot of dialogue about it. I just want to respond to really my intended audience here is the public, to not try to engender a debate. I don't share the opinion that this process was initiated in the spirit of violence. I think that
I
that's
don't think anybody said that. I think you misunderstood something.
I think so. It did sound like you said that, Sean. That's what I thought I heard too. But
No,
you
I'm saying,
totally
I was
misunderstood.
contrasting what we did compared to what had happened before and saying that what we had done was a much higher standard. That's all.
okay. Thanks for the clarifications. I don't need to respond to any comments that this process was initiated in the spirit of violence because those comments were not made. And so I was going to ask if someone can clarify when this was first brought to us, because I know I wasn't on the board, but I know the board had considered some proposals in the past. Does anybody want to take it just 10 seconds to help share their recollection of when this was first brought to us?
Sure, because I've gone back and listened to the recordings of those meetings and looked at the dates and the times that stuff came to us. It first came, the general subject matter first came before us in 2017, I think midway through the year. And it was regarding the proposal for for Squaw Mountain to be renamed. And at that time, it came from a different person. And it was a woman who had her own phonetic pronunciation of the name of the indigenous name for Owl Woman. And so she used that phonetic pronunciation, which was similar, was Mistanta, I believe, and it was yet not quite accurate. And that was brought before us. That was later withdrawn. And then Mount Evans was brought before us. I think it was either Mount Cheyenne, Arapahoe, or Mount Sewell that first came before us in 2018. And we did not have a vote in either case. We had a discussion during county manager update. And in each case, we gave a direction that we would take a neutral position. Unfortunately, that direction was misconstrued by staff and sent to the BGN as a, and I've seen the emails on those, as that we objected to change. And I know from the conversation, I remember specifically that Sean, because I listened to the recordings later because I was confused when I just recently in the last 2 years saw those emails, went back and listened to the recordings, and clearly between Sean, Tim, and I, we disagreed. And because we disagreed, we chose to take no position, a neutral position. And I think that the reason it ended up being misconstrued to the BGN, and they had us down in the no, as a checkbox in the no category, is because it was sent out that we had not come to a conclusion. The BGN said you need to pick this, this, or this. And so Keith Montag sent back a very short email that said that we, couple things like we were proud of our own history too, or something like that. And
Randy,
we've taken no position. And so that's when it first came up. And
okay,
just so you know.
thank you. So thank you for clarifying that. I wasn't sure which mountain it was that had been brought and when it had happened. So thank you. And just my comments on this resolution. I think that my intent in wanting to see a resolution rather than a motion, or in addition to a motion, is to codify and explain the decision, as well as try to use this public document to contribute to the intent of the process, which was framed to me, and I understand, as being to promote healing within Indigenous groups, within non-Indigenous groups that are affected by this, and between those groups. And I think this resolution does a fairly good job of that. And so I'm fine with this resolution as written. I think there are some things that if we could all tinker with this thing for another long time. But I'm okay with this resolution as it's written right now. And if anybody has any specific asks, I'm happy to discuss them.
No, I'm fine with it as well. I will say that I think the historical aspects of it, and I realize in healing, you want to avoid a certain amount of negativity. Healing also involves closure. And I have to say that healing has been something that people have said in the probably scores at least, if not over 100 meetings that I've been in the last couple of years on this. And healing has often been brought up, as often as not, from there's from the indigenous people that I've spoken to and have represented their tribes at the meetings. I've as often heard that healing is almost impossible and too late to get out of a simple act like this, but that education at least helps contribute towards that. And education, unfortunately, means sometimes facing the raw truth. So at least mentioning that the reason for taking the name off the mountain is because of the culpability of the person and knowing those actions. But I'm fine with it the way it is, because I think the additions that I've seen to it since I wrote a first draft and sent it over to Peter have only been improved by those additions. And I mean that the thing has been improved in talking about what the basis of our community is and what we would wish to see, what we believe that to be. So I think it's fine. And I think we've already taken the act last Tuesday. That's been broadcast. We made a decision over 48 hours ago that we do support this, and we've let all the other parties know they should be able to move forward with that. And I'm happy to have this act finish it off as it sits right now, word for word.
Are we ready for a motion?
Sure, I'd like to move that we approve Resolution 22-25, a resolution memorializing and ratifying and supporting the Southern Cheyenne and Arapaho tribal proposal to rename Mount Evans to Mount Blue Sky.
I'll second.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I just want to state that, there was some mention of some pride in the process that we performed, and I just want to kind of draw a bigger circle around what is to be proud of. And that's the community and the participants. I know sort of in non-official channels, I saw some fairly aggressive, kind of hateful language. And I'm really proud that even the folks who have those views did not pollute our public process with them. And I'm very grateful for that. And I'm very grateful for just the general sense of honesty and restraint that we have seen by a bunch of people, our constituents and others.
I think I would even try to draw that circle a little bit larger to, I consider part of our community to be those who were here and would undoubtedly still have been here today had history played out differently, and how their descendants have acted in an unbelievable, I mean, if this is not a change that we're making, this is a change that we are acknowledging and supporting that some other people are making to try to get history right and to help have it reflect their views and their experiences as well. And I'm especially proud of both the Northern and the Southern Cheyenne and Arapaho and the Ute for all having weighed in some form or another, and have all made clear that without education, renaming is meaningless, and thereby using this as a way to unify, not just to get a payback, but more importantly, to unify an entire people to understand and tolerate each other better. And that is a very huge thing that they have accomplished and that we are able to simply help them accomplish. And that's my view on what we're doing. And so I'm proud of them as well, like, just like the rest of the community.
Well, hearing no further discussion, we'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 2-0. Do we have any
Presume
further
you
business today?
abstained Again, is that correct?
Yep.
Sean? Okay.
And did we decide we need to do a,
No, there's no executive session to follow, so we are finished for the day.
okay, and we're not meeting again until 2 Tuesdays, right? The 29th, is that right?
I think there was a special meeting that's scheduled for April 4th to
Oh, of course.
discuss the
Yeah, yeah,
federal
yeah.
request concerning renaming of
Pass.
some,
Yeah, yeah.
the
Got it.
past.
Okay,
And then there's-
perfect.
And then there's a meeting April 5th.
A regular
and we-
special meeting.
Okay, perfect. Well, thanks everybody for your attendance. This concludes the special meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. See everybody soon.
Thanks, everyone.